Welcome to 3 on the Ones and Twos with your hosts, Tom, Cassie, and James. Just 3 old friends talking about their favorite records. Think of it as the coolest book club for music nerds.
Man, it's so weird. So I love your flight jacket.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness, look at this
Nice
little
and
guest.
warm.
Hi. So we got all these beautiful people. Look at this little girl. That's Abby. Oh my goodness. We're back in the Cabinista. Some days you wake up and you got to put on a Batman hat, or you got to wear a Clash shirt for things to go well. Yep. You know what I'm saying? And I'm so grateful, and I've just learned to not, certainly not dwell on the bad things, or think about that, and then just appreciate the good things. So I appreciate you, Cassie.
I appreciate you, Tom.
Man, appreciate you, James.
Appreciate Tom.
Thank you.
And appreciate Cassie.
Yes. Thank you, Team Joyce. We're at the Cabinista, and we are going to get into it. We just listened to a really good album. I think it was recorded in 1988, came out in 89. Well, let's get into it. Let's just jump into it.
Well,
What?
most importantly, this is actually the pick of our, our friend.
Okay. Actually, I'm always firing people, and now I'm going to be fired. My assistant, Denise, who is not only, probably has the biggest heart of any human I know in the world, but also the word selfless comes to mind. Like she pushes me and tries to, and I'm like, I don't want this. I look disgusting. She doesn't want pictures of her, and she just wants me to shine. Big fan of me, what I do in my art, my music, and loves the show and loves the both of you.
Yes.
So
and we love her.
We love her, and we appreciate her. And can you get me a beer in 5 minutes?
Sure.
So anyway, so there's the thing. So she picked this record, and I go, "What do you got to say about it?" She goes, "It's my childhood, it's my adolescence, it's my youth.
It's all of our childhood."
I go, "Well, just say the rest." And we just had a listening party, and y'all need to know, we were dancing in the kitchen, in the cabin, the Cabinista, in the slog cabin in the mountains. All right, let's go for it. What do you want to do?
Let's go for it.
Cheers,
what
Denise,
record did
and
Denise
cheers.
pick?
Cheers
Denise picked Operation Ivy. I guess it's energy, but actually, technically, what she has
is energy plus 5.
It's energy plus hectic,
7.
and we can get into that. But I think that, this is their only full length, and this is the only one that I think originally had come out on vinyl. This and hectic, but the full compilation, the full wasn't originally on vinyl. So, or actually, I don't think it is at all because I had to get both this and hectic. So let's
just get into
most people, I think, know. Mostly it's energy are the songs that people know most.
So
I don't even know the Hectic EP. I listened to Energy exclusively. As a kid, I got this, and
but do you have it on
very
any of
very early?
Do you
I
have
got
it?
this.
Okay, but when you listen to it on digital,
CD, yeah.
Okay, so CD. Did you get it CD or tape or anything?
I got it on tape.
At the same time?
I had a dub of it on tape before it was in any skate video, before it was any.
Yeah, that's what I have.
It was extremely early. I got this, and I've always stayed with. For me, this is the album.
This is
So you never got
A side and B side, and we just listened to it all the way through, and every song is
so many things. So many things to say.
Yeah.
One is, and I'm a man who I'm a man, by the way. So I'm a man who I believe in yellow sticky notes in my job, my brain. I have yellow sticky notes, but I also believe I have these internal sticky notes that I make mental notes, and I put them, which I think is behind my eyes and my forehead, a little too deep right now, but these notes to say, and then just now listening to this, I scratch all those notes, and I have new notes.
Okay.
But James and I are talking in the kitchen. It's like, there's no other album that is so quick between songs.
Yeah.
Insane.
Along with a Fugazi album or something, where they just
perfect.
They go from
the way it's
song to song, song to song to song. And Denise was saying, every song has to go in order.
Has to.
You can't listen to this album on shuffle.
Yeah.
Because
she rolled in a roller skates early and tripped over Abby and dropped 4 beers, which is not cool. And she goes, "Can I skip 4 songs of Bad Town?" She goes, "I stopped." And she did a moonwalk backwards. She goes, "I messed up." She goes, "No, we need to listen to the whole thing."
Right. Well,
19 songs.
When we first So like this is a record that I think all of us like we know inside and out. Like it is one
Sure.
of those. So but I do like
part
to
of our
listen
DNA.
to things, you know, from start to finish, like several times. No matter how familiar I am, leading up to us doing these. So I was listening to it on my older iPod, and it wasn't my older iPod, and it for some reason it wasn't playing them in order, and it was just messing me up. Like I had to stop and go back.
It'll mess you up.
For this album, it's because you anticipate
It has to
what's
go in
coming
order.
next.
It has to
So
go
it was
one
it
after
was
the
messing
other
me up
after the
so
other.
much
It's not
that I would
right.
have
It's
to
not right.
I would have to like stop, go back and find the song that it's supposed to be next and play that because it was just throwing me off so much.
Yep.
I mean, I think this album's so ingrained in all of us.
Yeah.
You know, like anybody our age that was kind of into.
If you're 45 years old or over, you know this song or this album
And you're
inside
cool.
and out.
And you're open-minded and cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, because it's definitely not for people. It's probably not something that people that listen to like top 40 radio or like whatever type thing like is going to be into. But if you're into like kind of more subculture music,
Sure.
and you're our age, you know this. You know the album.
But this
Or any-
album
yeah.
is Berkeley. This
Yeah.
album is Bay Area. Is this the best album out of the Bay Area?
Well, for me, I mean, I would
Good
say that.
question,
I would
good
say that, but
question,
also
good
I
question.
lived in the Bay Area when they
Yep.
were active, and so. But honestly, I didn't get into them
Sure.
really hard until after they were. I mean,
Yeah.
I was introduced to them right around the time of their last show. So before Energy came out. it
Once
was
again,
just hectic.
Cassie's cool with
No,
this.
no, but no, because I was introduced to it, but it really was. I liked it, but it wasn't my thing, and I didn't pursue it. And Energy, I think, came out shortly after that, or right around that time.
They probably were doing these songs in like 85, 86, whatever. They recorded them in 87, it comes out in 88, and then it comes out in 89, and then they break up.
Well, they were only together for 2 years. Like literally, like May of '87 is when they got together, and then May of '97 is when this came. Like no, May of
88.
87, 87 to '89.
I
Two
think
years.
that
2
they.
years.
I would say, hang on, 87, not 2 years.
That's probably 2 years.
But I think that they definitely, like, they became legendary after their band had
Yes.
already
Yes.
Sure.
been gone.
For sure.
Through the 90s, anybody
How many
who
bands?
was...
I'm going to say, and it's almost like it was the representation of like the West Coast and the East Coast. There's only 2 bands in this genre that I can think of that after they broke up, they aged well and they only got bigger and they only did one album. It's Minor Threat and Operation Ivy.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's it.
Well, I think several bands in the modern era have gotten bigger.
But one record and then they broke up and then that's it.
But yes, I think for the 90s, you think about Operation Ivy is the quintessential band that like made a perfect album.
Right.
Perfect.
And in the 90s, if you were of that age, if you were 16 to 17, 18 years old,
Like, yeah, I mean, yeah.
you were...
And you skateboarded, you love punk rock, you know.
You knew this album inside and out. It
Well, so-
was completely revolutionary. Coming from California, being Berkeley being a kind of ska punk influenced band that, like, if you think about two-tone, which we've talked about many times, like with Dance Craze and our two-tone episode, this is California, sort of bringing in the two-tone sound, but making it San Francisco punk.
For sure.
Bringing in the Lookout, the Gilman side, the
Independent.
the Operation Ivy, the Collective element, the Green Day, all the Lookout records, like
Well, I
it's
think
sort
it was-
of all through that lens.
They say a lot, and so I did eventually end up going to a couple shows at Gilman, but it was probably it was the following school year.
It was
after this came
it was
out.
like the
Right.
the beat, the second.
Well, all of them will say that Gilman itself was super important too, because it was very to the development of them.
Tim worked there and swept
Right,
floors.
but it was such a creative, like it
I should
didn't
say
matter
Lynch worked
what
there.
genre you were, so melding the genres of what they're interested in, it never seemed like a weird thing. It's they accepted people from all different little cliques and a lot creative types, just melding
It was
together.
a very diverse area, and it had is very much a melting pot where everything was included. It was a very open space.
Gilman, yeah.
I would
it's
say.
community.
Well,
It's
also,
very community.
Berkeley in general, because
Sure.
when I finally did, so I didn't live in East Bay. I lived in Marin, which is just north of San Francisco.
Yep.
And when I was in high school, and
Still cool.
I got into ska later after this was, so probably about 6 months after this had come out, which is a long time when you're a
Sure.
teenager and in high school. It's a big
Like
amount of
you
time.
feel like you missed the train.
This is
No, no, no,
1989 to 1990.
Yeah,
yes.
it was probably 90. Probably 90.
Yes.
Like say like early 90.
Yep.
Because I graduated in 90.
And I
in
met you
summer.
like 4 years after that.
You
Sure.
did meet me 4 years. But so
You
but
I met
so
you 3 years after that.
we would go. You did meet me 3 years after that.
you go.
So then we would go to Berkeley a lot. Once I got into ska, because ska was huge. Like they'd have tons
Huge.
of show, not just at like Gilman and stuff, but they had a lot of other. At that point, I know that was probably my first experience with like house shows or little DIY shows.
It's a resurgence at that point.
Type of thing, and it was so. I see how they were influenced, or why they had that ska influence, because it was big in the scene there. Like so,
Sure.
was like all that.
Yeah, but also like James is right. It's like Lookout was huge. Like Tilt, Pansy Division, the Queers,
Screeching Weasel,
like it
Crimp
was,
Shrine,
15.
Green Day,
are you
15.
Are you kidding me?
Well, Green
Like,
Day, I think they played didn't they play one of their first shows with Operation Ivy? I
Yeah,
believe.
well, Billy
Like one of
Joe
the
and
last
Tim have the
ones.
same last name, so everyone thought they were cousins, and they started writing songs.
Is that
together.
true?
Oh yeah,
Really?
But they're not cousins.
Well, yeah.
But everyone thought they were, and they started writing songs together. Like Billy Joe wrote "Radio" by Rancid with Tim Armstrong, and so everyone thought that, and they were like the little brothers, and it's wild, like they, all watched each other grow.
It was a melting pot of a lot of different bands, I think, in the Bay Area and around the Gilman scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But I feel like Operation Ivy and Green Day are the two bands that were like people will know for 100 years from now,
Right.
in a way. As
Yeah,
opposed,
totally.
I mean, I think there was a lot of amazing bands coming from that time, but I think it was a lot of crazy stuff going on. It was a big like cluster fuck.
Yeah.
And then Operation Ivy and Green Day came out of that. Operation Ivy took the 90s by storm
Unreal.
as a band that didn't exist anymore.
Right.
And
that's
people
what's-
knew in Atlanta, people knew it
Yeah.
everywhere in the world as a band. That's incredibly impressive as a band who this
We played
music
a number of shows, and they've broken up.
this music
They played a
came out
lot of
after they
shows.
were
But
like after they had broken up.
The
it
album
is-
came out pretty much like right at the time.
their
they broke
last
up.
show was
They-
huge.
yeah.
We were looking at the flyer. The flyer.
They
The
didn't-
the last show was
We'll
supposed to
post
be
that.
was supposed to be their record release show. It was supposed
Yeah.
to be the push for the record, and that was
It
the last
is
show.
as a band, you can imagine it is insanely. It is like unprecedented for a band to be this big that had never toured
Never
under
played
this,
Europe,
like
whatever,
that never
they had
really
like
could
I think they
support
small
this.
like they toured like one small little tour where they were like stayed mostly like in
Sure.
their
They
like,
were driving a
living-
four-door, like,
yeah,
Dodge Dart
and they
or
were
something.
just like sleeping in the car most or sleeping in people's
So-
houses
so,
and stuff.
But they didn't have this album.
No, and they
Yeah.
they had put out the Hectic, I believe, and then they I think a lot of the material they came up with. But what I think is interesting is that so then I meet Denise like so much long, and that she got introduced to this when she was 15, around when she was 15.
Probably
and-
the same
and-
time I was introduced.
And so
yeah.
it's just it's interesting that how people from all over the country, if you're still like within this range,
Yep.
you're going to have a connection.
You're gonna
in
know
some
this album.
way.
Totally. Yeah, it represents your adolescence.
Unbelievable.
Yes.
Not on
So-
MTV.
here's-
not anywhere.
So here's the
Yep.
thing that like we love to ask.
Just a cultural
Yes.
phenomenon.
We love to ask this question for every album and every episode we do. And I'm here to say it's impossible on this record to say what your favorite song is.
I can tell you what I asked Denise, and Denise did tell me what hers was. It's Bad Town. But she loves them all, but it's Bad Town.
Well, we want to give shout out to Paul Bandolino, whatever his name is on saxophone.
Isn't he also a maniac driver?
E.T. Phone Homie on the saxophone. Yes.
No,
Isn't he
no,
also
no.
the-
Let me get the name right because you're
Oh,
not
it's
doing
in.
it right.
Is it on this
we
one?
gotta do
Yeah,
it.
it's on the other.
No.
Yep, boom. Paul Pauls.
Paul Banny
Paul Banny
Paul
plays
Benny plays sax
and drives like a maniac.
and drives like a maniac.
sax and
Bam.
violins. sax and violins.
What I think it really makes this so relatable is Jesse Michaels' lyrics. To me,
Sure.
the music's super catchy. It's super catchy. It's relatable. It's different. It's unique. It's not like anything else you're gonna hear.
Right.
And then you have these lyrics that are for like a teenager, just saying very deep,
Universal.
but obvious-
And
yeah,
very young,
Universal things.
very young, and not gonna say my age, but I'm getting up there. And but we talked about this on the drive up to the mountains, like these bands, like that you loved, or some of them you loved, and like you go back and we revisit, and you're like, whatever. Age really well. Like this it's timeless.
It's what they speak to is very universal, and also when we talked about Minor Threat, Minor Threat.
Ted Kennedy,
and-
yeah, like it
well-
made it age well. Yeah, Minor Threat,
Well,
sure.
Ian MacKay always said, like, I didn't want to, my lyrics intentionally, I didn't want to place in a certain time.
Sure.
I wanted them
Oh.
to be very universal. And I feel like the lyrics on Operation Ivy Energy is universal. Everything that it says could be spoken at any
Right.
time.
Which, speaking of
Has
interesting,
no time and place.
They wanted
Everything
to-
that they're
Totally.
saying.
they originally wanted to
Absolutely.
record this. They originally wanted to record this live at Gilman,
Yeah.
and then they were at Gilman and trying to do the recording, but they found that without a crowd or whatever, it was just kind of coming out flat and
Sure.
it wasn't sounding right. So
Gotta
when
get
they
the
finally got
energy.
around to being in the studio and they were doing Freeze Up,
The energy.
they had to change 1988 to 1989 Stand Up and Take a Look because it
Right,
wasn't
'cause they knew it was gonna
80
come out then.
Well, I mean, no, it was actually 89 at that point then.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
was just like we
Sure.
have to say 89 now.
And so what's
And they could have not even, they could have
They
taken the
could've
year
changed
out
that.
of it.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And by the way, I'm
Yeah.
looking down on this, and we're fans, and
It's 2022.
We're music
Stand up,
fans,
take a look
and,
around.
Right, exactly.
Sure.
We're music fans and historians, and certainly we're not always right. So something we say might not be right, and that's also fine. Like, I'm looking at this right now. Bad Town, everything was written by Lynch, lyrics and everything.
Really?
I did not know that. Like, boom. So Tim wrote that whole song, lyrics and everything.
Yep.
That is amazing. So Denise's favorite song wasn't even Jesse Michaels.
Wasn't even Jesse
But
Michaels.
that's amazing. Like and it's
Wow.
it's beautiful.
But
And sung. Yeah.
so when you listen to this, I mean, it
Dave
is
Mello on drums, sick drummer, and I love the drum sounds. I love the recording of it.
It's kind of weird and lo-fi.
Yeah.
I love the like lo-fi
It's garage. It's
sort
like-
of
It's a garage record.
immediacy of it. Like it doesn't sound. It sounds like it's recorded in a garage.
It's a
Right.
garage.
But it has that feeling, that personal feeling to it. I feel like when you listen to Knowledge, like if you were putting Knowledge on, you're like, this is a great punk song,
Yeah.
whatever. This is great. San Francisco, California punk song. Then Sound System comes on,
Right.
and you're like,
Right.
holy fucking shit.
Right.
And you want to know
That's
something?
that's one of my
And
favorites.
you wanna know
Definitely one of
something?
my favorites.
But it's sort of like it totally turns left and it says like, this band is something else.
And for the
Yeah.
first,
This is
and,
not
and for
a
the first,
typical Lookout band.
and for the first time ever,
Yeah.
we just listened to this record in the mountains in the Cabanista before this.
Yep.
When we're done with this, we'll listen to this record again.
Yes.
It's
It
that.
doesn't,
it's
it
that,
doesn't get
yeah.
old. It doesn't get old. And there was something on the
And there's
production.
Clash.
No, so
There was something on the production
It's-
with the way
man,
that-
it's got Joe Strummer arm hairs and Braille.
Joe
and
Summer
and
should have
chills.
produced this.
Yes, totally.
If he had known about Operation Ivy, he would have produced
Yeah,
this.
he told,
But it
and
was
then
something
and then
interesting
and then Lynn
Cassie.
put out
that
his
I,
record.
I
you know.
don't
Yeah.
remember 100% like all the details on it because I'm not a production person and I'm not a musician, but something
Right.
about the songs that when they were produced, the levels were set different. The
Yes.
producer set levels so that because he said if you have an album where it's like 10 songs, it's not that big of a deal. But
Right.
when you're putting this many songs, because they're all under like 3 minutes,
They're
and so
two
there's
and
a
a
lot
half,
of
they're
songs
2.5
on
minute
here.
songs. It's
Whatever, like-
19
They're
2.5
fast
minute songs.
songs.
So,
Yeah, they're
so
short songs.
you're you need to mix it up and you need to find some way, and they do. And the funny thing with all the songs on here, and they're so short, they still all have their own identity,
Yeah.
which I think is
I do
super
like
incredible.
how the album is so diverse.
Yes.
It covers so much ground. It is amazing to listen to, like this song versus this song versus this song.
Yes.
It's almost and Denise has
That's gotta be
said
super
like
hard to
you have to
do.
listen to this as an entire album.
Yeah.
It will throw you off if you listen to it in a different...
It's like
Yeah.
a teenage, if you allow it to be like a movie soundtrack. You know,
Yeah.
it's so good.
And it just, and because
But
they
it's
are
still
so
very short. It's
Yeah.
like 30 minutes long,
Right,
maybe?
like the whole album. Yeah.
Yeah, if you listen to just the album of these 19 songs, it's probably 30 minutes.
So I have...
Everyone at that time was doing stuff in the vein of the Ramones. You got to remember that.
Have-
So like old lookup bands like Queers and Screeching Weasel were trying to be the Ramones.
Sure.
So here they wanted to be the Clash, but they're like, no, we're doing 19 2-minute songs.
Yep.
Boom, that's it.
So this is the CD, because the compilation where they have Energy plus Hectic.
Hectic,
Yep.
Only came out on like
Unity,
digital
yeah,
formats.
yeah.
So I did get that just to kind of, because this is the
Yeah,
one that
good.
she
That's
typically
awesome.
listens to. And
Who, Denise?
Denise? The
This
person
is-
who picked
this is
this
her
record?
episode.
Actually,
by the way.
I'm just going to put it out there. Another cider would be awesome.
The cider's getting light.
Cider piss.
But it's interesting that it's like, if you listen to this in the full CD version,
Yeah.
this is, yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm used to it blending into those songs, like
Yeah.
Junkies Running Dry and stuff like that. Like
I know
Yeah.
those songs, but I never
Is that the
own
last
those.
one?
right, and you
So-
don't and
get
you
him
don't
one?
know them inside and out like you do when you listen to
This
that.
is what
that's
I
the
listen
end where it
to.
ends, right?
And it's funny because, and I hate to say this, like I have this weird
that's-
early
look
version of Operation Ivy. Like this is, I mean, I probably was listening to this in
Love you,
'91,
Thank you,
maybe.
T.
Not
Denise's-
exactly 90s.
Denise's pick.
Denise, thank you very
Cheers.
much for this album.
Thank you so much, D. You and Abby have a good time in the mountains.
But yeah, this was a very
like
important
almost
album
yellow.
as like a
So creepy.
15-year-old
so
for me.
It's so
yours is
cool.
interesting
1991
that
for
yours
sure.
is.
When did you get
'cause
it?
I mean, I had a dub tape of this. I bought this in
I
the
had it on
90s,
tape and I had it on
probably.
CD,
This
yeah.
album in the 90s, some point.
Mine is one of those tapes where like, and I couldn't find it, so hopefully I still have it somewhere in the garage. But it was just, I think it was somebody else had it, and then I just taped it
Yeah.
on, like, you know, where
I
it
mean,
just
you
like
just-
wrote it and just like wrote the stuff down.
I think
absorbed
I think
it.
I knew it, but it's also something we want to do afterwards because we love rabbit holes. I think one of their friends came up with this. Like, how amazing is
I
that?
think
Because you see this
no.
everywhere.
I think that this was
that on a
Jesse
back
Michael. I
patch.
think this was Jesse. I think because he is
I love Jesse
an
Michael.
artist.
He totally is. He's amazing. Love Jesse
I
Michael.
but what I think is interesting is that you got yours so early on that it's still the Lookout, because they ended
Yeah.
up obtaining the rights back.
Yeah, 'cause
so
Lookout
this is on
screwed- Lookout
Hellcat.
screwed
They
them.
didn't give
Yeah.
them. They weren't giving them the royalties. So
Can
this
you
is on
imagine how
Hellcat.
many records? You think about the early Green Day records. and
1,000
the-
Sloppy Hours and that. They sold millions of
Yeah.
copies and the guy screwed
and
it.
and
Yeah,
and the Operation Ivy album.
Man, yeah,
The Green
crazy.
Day albums and
That's
the
crazy.
Operation Ivy
That
album
1,000 Sloppy Hours, Green
Just-
Day, it's like
just
it's had it sold.
bankrolled the entire Kerplunk. Just bankrolled the entire label, so they could put out Pansy Division, so they could put out 15, so they could put out
But
Screeching Weasel.
pay these bands that
Yeah, you
you
need to
sold.
do
Sure.
that.
No, I appreciate it, and that's the way
And that
labels.
guy's interesting as well.
That's the way
Larry
independent
Livermore
labels
from
work.
Lookout Records,
For
yeah.
every, like in SST, for every Bad Brains
Yeah,
and every
for sure.
Black Flag and every Minutemen album, you
uh,
also have
Merge
SWA and-
Records
yeah.
is a great label, and because of Arcade Fire, they could put out 100 other great bands.
and the Magnetic
Yeah,
Fields
exactly. Yeah.
and Spoon.
Yeah, sure.
Spoons on. I mean,
Yeah,
So you think
totally.
about. I mean, as you know, Lookout Records, has their issues, but
Wait, was that an intentional cough?
yeah, but Operation Ivy, and then the origins of Green Day, of course. This is San
Huge.
Francisco. This is Bay Area.
Well, there's a really
He's right, yeah, definitely.
There's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
really
yeah.
cool documentary that I watched recently, and the Siders and the Jameson playing in I'm high up, like very high elevation in the mountains, but
Yes.
I'm just but it's I think it's called Berkeley, whatever. But it's really cool because they talk about Green Day and certainly Lint and Operation Ivy, but they also talk about Neurosis, like all these metal bands from there, whatever. And it's actually like really cool thing because like one of the guys from Neurosis goes, no, I was at I was at barbecues. I was like backyard barbecues and picnics, and so the guys from Officer Ivy and Billy Joe are like 12 years old playing. He goes, no, those guys are the real deal. And that's awesome.
But it's funny that
you know what I'm saying?
a band like Neurosis was also part of that whole crew.
That's it. Yeah.
Like it's all a very small circle.
There's a reason why Dave Mello and his brother
Yeah.
Pat Mello and Schlong toured with Neurosis later. Why? Because they lived next door to
Yeah.
each other in Berkeley.
So I just
They took the 51
Well, no,
bus, Dan, and then.
Well,
you know,
also so Lint and McCall, they knew each other since they were like 5 or something like
saved
that.
each other a million times.
Which I thought was really crazy because then they go on and through all these different, they've been in so many different bands together, and then Rancid, and what Dance Hall Crashers too, right? They were.
Well, I think they did some stuff with them. I don't know if they were.
Oh yeah,
involved,
maybe they went
But-
early on.
But we've talked about this on the podcast before. Is people who grew up together, there's some weird connection,
Yeah.
like growing up connection. If you've known each other since you were 5 years old and you play in a band together, like you're going to be with each other for
It's true.
forever. And you think about bands, there are bands that are more sort of, there are bands that are more artificial. There are bands that came together sort of later in life. Like I always think of, the Pixies are a great band, but the Pixies are all 4 different people who
Right.
came
Right.
together sort of synthetically.
Right.
Whereas you think of the Minutemen, Mike Watt and Dee
Friends,
Boone
yeah.
came together as children.
You're not going
Right.
to go 20
So-
minutes without Mike Watt talking about D Boone.
So
Yes,
I think about bands that are like you talk about here, bands where they're members who have known each other since childhood.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Because
unbelievable.
Linton and McCall, Tim Armstrong and Matt Freeman, best bass player in the world. Cheers, everyone. Good to see you. Yes, they save each other. They change and rearrange each other. Flea, I read Flea's book. It's called Acid for the Children. It's a wonderful book. And he talks about his friendship with Anthony Kiedis. It's the same thing.
Sure.
Our friends of ours, the Black Lips, Jared is a friend. I'm good friends with all of them, but Jared talks. He goes. All I know, as long as me and Cole are alive.
Yeah.
He goes.
You're
I'll
always going
grab
to be
you,
together.
I'll grab you and James, and I'll grab somebody's mother to play bongos
Yeah.
like the fall. He goes, and we're going to put out a Black Lips record.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of. It's a gang. It's awesome.
Right.
It's kind of awesome.
That's you and B. Kinch.
Yeah, it's me and B. Kinch.
And other people too,
Yeah.
but like
And
I think about people,
I'm so
Yeah.
lucky.
your tribe of people that have grown up together.
And I'm so lucky
yeah.
with all that. I mean, I kind of have 10 people like that. You know?
Of course.
And it's.
You have
I feel like the lucky.
a gang of people like that.
And shoot, me,
Sure.
saying it now. We're doing a song together in 2023.
Yes.
But like that's kind of an awesome thing because it's almost like when you hear these terms in like romance. And I'm not a person, I will say right now, never declare. Like I'm very private about my private life, you know. But like never declare. Like people don't say this. People say, "Oh, my ride or die," but it's kind of awesome that in males, bromances, saying, "Yo, this is my ride or die. We're doing this together," and that's kind of awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, listen, I love love and I love romance, but that's behind closed doors. But I'm gonna brag about me and my dude playing music.
Right, for sure.
Like how awesome is
But
that?
we're gonna create,
Yes.
art together,
Yeah.
and we're gonna do this for our lives.
Yeah. Like when
For sure.
I told Watt that my birthday was April 1st, he just started crying and hugged me. He goes, "That's Steve Boone's birthday." I go, "I know that. That's what I told you." Like that. Like he goes, "Can you imagine what me and he would be doing right now?" I go,
Yeah.
He's like, he fell out of a tree and landed on my head. His butt on my head. I go, "I know. I've heard the story a million times." Like it's the best, you know.
Yeah. But that's where I think a lot of the
That's
magic of these bands like Operation Ivy comes in is, and with so many bands that you love, you can trace it back to there's
A
members of the
connection.
bands who have known each other for their entire lives, and they're brothers or sisters or people, soulmates that have made music together in their entire lives. And this is what comes out of them.
Totally.
And some bands are a little bit more synthetic. Sometimes they make great music themselves.
So
But
good.
I love the brotherhood, or brotherhood and sisterhood and like camaraderie of people who grow up together, creating art together.
Me too.
Yeah.
And so I know I asked the impossible earlier, and that's awesome that we heard Denise's favorite song was Bad Town. Props to Lynn for writing it. And the impossible question, for,
Bad Town.
but I want to do it, and because I love Uncharted Waters. So I'm just going to say for me, and there are probably out of 19 songs, 13 that I could probably fight every other night saying my favorite. But right now I'm going to say Jaded.
Oh, that is a good one, yeah.
Like,
They're all good, they're all
what
good.
would you say? Like, cause jaded, and you're talking to a guy who chooses also and tries to live the religious life of PMA every day.
Right.
But I'm jaded.
But I like it because I like that little bit where it's just like sometimes
everyone's
everyone's
around.
sometimes,
Well,
yeah.
and that's that little glimpse.
Yeah.
That little hint of like, yo, you got
It's
this.
beautiful, and I would say
Have it.
any other way.
Yeah, so
if
what
I
would-
said
what-
different, it would be.
So we're hanging out with this Irish legendary writer, James Joyce. What would you say your favorite song was?
God, well, I mean, every song is
It's just that good.
It's just so great. I
Like
mean,
they're all like 2-minute Scorsese films.
I
Like,
know
it's like-
Really,
they
yeah.
go
It's
so
insane.
fast. I mean, I love, like, I will DJ this
And you told,
at like Elmire.
Elmire.
And
Elmire.
It'll be packed, and I'll put on, Smiling,
Smiling when your friends are.
and people will start
Go nuts.
skanking.
There's like a pit in the Mexican restaurant.
in
There's a
the
pit
bar.
in the Mexican
People will
restaurant.
start like going crazy. I mean, they'll just be like, "Oh shit!" And I mean, sound system.
Yeah.
I mean, the whole album.
Sound system's unreal. Knowledge is unreal.
But I think the fact that they put out Sound System as the second song, it just like threw everyone into the deep end
Right.
with this song, with this album, and they just said, "This is going to be one of your favorite albums of all time."
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, I think it's interesting is that like Knowledge, it starts out with Knowledge, and that's probably their best known song. It's probably it's
Sure.
been covered by, and then it does go, which I would say Sound System's one of my favorite. Unity is one of my favorite. I mean, well, actually,
What's
I
the song
really,
that Green Day covers? Green Day
I'm
covers.
pretty sure they cover Knowledge.
They cover
I
Knowledge,
believe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do, because, yeah.
But yes, just like you, I could
Just
any
buy-
other day I
any
could
other day,
probably
yeah.
fix them. But those are two that I consistently go to that just always seem to do like hit the spot.
But I
for
mean,
me.
what a good sign of I mean, I could go all day, like talking about like a Fugazi or even like Radiohead or like, well, one day I love this, one day I love that, and there's so many just.
You've been talking about.
I love stuff that makes me like I want to move and I want to think and move and I want to help people think and move. We talked about this on the last episode. I was wearing the same outfit. But we want to embrace the time we're alive and do good stuff, which is why we're doing the show.
Right.
And make people think and motivate in them. So thank you guys for putting out this record, and you guys go do something do something, and this stuff makes me want to do something.
I think anybody could only hope to come up with something. I mean, it really is like a masterpiece. It is probably what I think of records that are like unifying for like a generation.
Yeah.
This is because it really does. It brings people together. It's the first time I hung out at Denise's house. She put this on, and
I don't think I've met her yet.
We just sang the songs from start to finish because you can't help but do that.
And listen, we love sing-alongs.
And you can't help but
You
sing
guys
along to
do
these.
too.
I mean, this album.
Bank shot,
All of
and
them.
there's no lyrics. It's just like that. How cool is it to sing along to a song that has no
I know.
Like
That's pretty great. Is there's like
seriously.
I could put that on
I mean, seriously.
when it's packed in
I'll
Elmire.
be here all night.
I
telling
could put that
jokes.
on and everybody be like, it'd be great.
We're like singing along bad attitude.
We're singing
guitar
along to an
chord.
album that's not even playing.
Right.
And so it's funny that it's insane how important an album is
That is
to
really cool.
a people who could this album took over a generation of people
For 10 years.
for a band that no longer existed.
Right.
Totally.
Like that band could have gotten back together and done a victory lap
Totally.
for 10 years
Victory
playing
tour, yeah.
You know the
playing Operation Ivy songs, and people would have lost their minds.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
and it was almost like
I was going to
this
say,
is
because
like
right now, 5 minutes later, I want to say,
Like-
big city's the greatest.
there's still a need.
Big
Like
city, big
if Operation Ivy got back together today and did a tour,
Yeah.
like people would lose their minds.
Yeah, like in like 6
if-
months, I'm
if
gonna
Operation
have a
Ivy
really
is
long,
coming to
I'm gonna have a
Atlanta.
really long
You know, Jesse
ponytail.
Michaels has not ruled it out. Last heard, he has not ruled it out.
Well, him and Tim are very good
Well,
friends.
they're all good friends
Yeah.
now. Like
Sure.
they're all like that. But I think that what he said was there are some legal reasons why he can't discuss it further. So
Right.
who knows if it has something
So
to do with
it's
like
a bunch of label
It's gross.
stuff.
crap.
And this is the thing.
But if Operation Ivy comes to the Tabernacle, Eastern or whatever,
Oh, it sells out immediately.
it's like, I mean, you talk about Jawbreaker and their like intense,
Yeah. I didn't
like
go to any of those shows, but
crazy.
I heard it was awesome.
You know, you talk about
And it
bands
sold out
who
really
are
fast.
Did
who
you
are,
go?
who are bigger
went.
than any band ever
I was playing video games.
If Operation Ivy announced a show,
I love the way he threw that record down.
it would be if Operation Ivy announced a show tomorrow, thousands of people would buy a ticket and immediately go.
Yes.
You can't deny
I
how
think-
powerful this
I
album
believe
is.
they have a standing invitation to play Riot Fest.
Oh, totally. Laura Jane Grace has been doing that for a while now. So, Jesse Michaels, Tim Lintz, Matt Freeman, Dave Mello. This whole record's amazing.
This whole record's amazing. Thank you, Denise.
Absolutely love it. Thank you, Denise. By the way, best assistant I've never had an assistant. Best assistant I've ever had. And listen, be good to each other. Put this record on and dance, and also fight. Like the lyrics are, it's like raise. Like for those of us who have a voice, talk for people who don't have a voice.
Yes.
Like Jesse Michaels, he spits it, he rips it, he grips it. To this day, like that guy still does good stuff. He does
warning.
artwork,
Does
and,
the artwork?
and sells charity for house people. All right, take warning.
Thank you.
We'll
Thank
fix.
you.
Listen, we'll see. We'll fix it all up in the mix-up in the pit. Much love. Cheers.